Professor Kim here, and I'm super excited to share a 3-in-1 game with you. The game is called Devour, and you have 3 games. You've got Prey, which is for 2 to 3 players, Forest Floor, which is 1 player, but you can add more to it and play together, and Outfoxed is specifically a 2-player game. So what I'm going to do today is teach you how to play Prey and show you really the cool techniques and strategies that are in this game. Prey is a fast-paced card game for 2 to 3 players. In this example, I'm going to show you a 2-player game. And players are going to play cards from their hand trying to eat the opponent's card, adding it to their feed pile. Whoever has the largest feed pile at the end of the game, once all these cards have been drawn and played and no player has any cards in their hand, that player who has the most is going to win the game. So players are trying to become the apex predator as they rise up in the food chain, eating more and more every round. So this is a real eat or be eaten situation. In the easy game, cards are shuffled and players are going to receive 5 cards each. You're going to place this apex predator token, which is the first player start token, near the hungriest player, which is me. So I'm going to start the game, and it matters because there are 3 basic outcomes each round that you play in the easy basic version, which I will teach you right now. Let's take a look at the cards. So you're going to see the cards have a particular color. They also have a name. And for colorblind friendliness, there is the number of the particular animal up in this top margin area. So if you're not able to see that that's red, you know the eastern chipmunk is number 3. Down here at the bottom, you're going to see what they eat. Some animals have a food that they like to eat. You also are going to see what they can eat, which have numbers and colors associated with it. So this eastern chipmunk can eat 6 animals. And in the bottom left-hand corner, that's the number of animals that can eat this particular card. Now, I'll talk more about these symbols in the top corner when I get to the next stage, which is 1 stage up from easy. It adds a couple cool rules and elements. That's what that's there for. So I have an eastern chipmunk, I've got a dung beetle, I've got some scat, I have a red-tailed hawk, and I have some fruits and seeds. Okay, let's see here. I want to probably play a card down that I think my opponent will not be able to defeat, and that means that they're really high up on the food chain. So as the start player, I'm going to play down the red-tailed hawk. This is on my side. I'm going to put my cards right here like this. This indicates that's the card that I'm going to play, and hopefully you don't have something that can beat it, and you'll play something that either ties me or essentially, which means it would go in my favor. Ties mean that you go in the apex predator first player priority, or that kind of gives us an opportunity to play a second round, which is really cool. That's called a vole. So my opponent is going to look at their cards. They've got the hognose snake, the crayfish, the great horned owl, a deer, and carrion. Well, it looks like, yep, this owl is number 1. They are top of the food chain. They eat all of these different kinds of animals. Yep, they eat number 2s, which is my red-tailed hawk. So my opponent is going to play that card down right there. And we're going to evaluate. Okay, again, 1 of 3 outcomes. 1 animal eats the other one. That's 1 outcome. That's exactly what's happening here. This owl eats this guy, and my hawk does not eat higher up the food chain. He's the number 2. This guy's the number 1. That's 1 possible outcome. Another outcome could be that each animal eats the other. So this animal would eat this one and that one would eat the other, in which this is the tiebreaker. So as the apex predator start player, you get to win on ties. Now the other outcome is that neither eats the other and you go into yet another phase of that particular round. But this is resolved, so I'm going to say my opponent is going to receive these cards in their feed pile, and that's going to be where they keep their points. And once we go through this deck and one player doesn't have any cards left, that's when the game ends. Players are going to draw back up to their hand limit, which is the 5. And we are going to pass that token. So now my opponent becomes the apex predator, and we're going to move into a second round. Okay, now that we are ready for round 2, my opponent is going to choose to play first. They got a bobcat. Wow. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's a really great predator. It's a number 1 on the top of the chain, eats a lot of animals. The white-tailed deer is level 6 and only eats a couple things. My crayfish, or their crayfish, is a 13, eats a handful of things but is eaten by a lot. 30 different animals can eat this card, this animal. And then eastern hognose snake. Ah, boy, leading out big with another bold move might be exactly what my opponent wants to do. I think they're going to lead off with that bobcat. Let's see if I have anything that can fight it, okay? Well, let's see here. I might actually have a second chance because I might push for essentially what's called a vole. Now, does he eat a 10? Yes, he can eat the spotted salamander. Does he eat 14 and 16? No, he doesn't eat scat and fruit and seeds. That's actually going to be probably beneficial. My dung beetle, he doesn't eat that either. And my chipmunk, number 3, he does eat. So I'm not going to send him food just to eat up my animals. So what I might do is play scat. And that means we've got a vole. Does scat eat bobcat? No. Does bobcat eat scat? No, it's not listed down here. So that means that now my opponent, with their existing hand, will play a card on top of their card to see if it will eat the scat. So let's see here if we've got that. So scat is 16, no, no, and no. Wow, so none of these cards are going to eat scat. So he's going to play down a card hoping that we can continue this until one of us eats all of these cards. So he's going to play down carrion, cover up his bobcat. Bobcat doesn't exist anymore. This is covering it. So now we look at this, immediately evaluate. Does carrion eat scat? No. Does scat eat carrion? No. And now it's my job. Do any of mine? Carrion is 17. There we go. My dung beetle wins the day. My eastern chipmunk does too. Do you see this? 17 and 17. It's the black circle. Both of these animals are going to eat this stuff. So I'm going to play down my dung beetle. And then I say, evaluate immediately. Even though he's got that apex predator, once you do this, it goes 1 by 1 by 1. So we evaluate, does my dung beetle eat carrion? Yes. Carrion the other way? No. So I take all 4 of these cards and I place them in my feed pile. And now I ate all of that because my dung beetle pretty much climbed to the top of the tracks. So that was really cool. Player's going to go down here. We're going to draw back up. I need to draw 2. My opponent needs to draw 2. And now I start off. So let's see what I've got. I've got a cottontail rabbit, a gray squirrel, and then my regular stuff from before. So I've got that salamander, I've got my chipmunk. You know what? I think I'm going to lead off with one of these new ones. Oh, I'm going to do the gray squirrel because my gray squirrel, it's level 3. It eats a whole bunch of stuff. Can be preyed upon by 19 other animals, but we'll see how I do. Here's my opponent. That snake can definitely eat my squirrel. It eats threes. That crayfish certainly can't. The deer is not going to go after my squirrel. And the mouse is not going to go after my squirrel. So they got a fruits and seeds, which don't worry about this in the easy game. You won't play with that. So he's just going to gobble up my gray squirrel with his hognose snake. Absolutely. So now does mine eat his? Nope. Mine could eat a 10, but not a 9. So unfortunately, my gray squirrel gets chomped by the snake, goes into his pile, and no ties. Ties are really good for the apex predator. So draw up 1, and now we have our 5 again. So now what I want to do is just up the ante and kind of show you what some of the more advanced plays offer this basic game of prey. So the very first thing is that when you look at your hand, players are allowed to resolve any food sources. It's called a main food source. So if I have, let's say I have this, which I do, I've got the eastern chipmunk, eats fruits and seeds. I have fruits and seeds in my hand. I am able to say, from now, at the very beginning of the turn, my eastern chipmunk eats my fruits and seeds. I can do that once per round. I will draw back up, and my opponent can do the same as well. Let's see if he has any food. He has fruits and seeds, and that's a 14. His woodpecker eats 12. It says any, that's 12. And this is vegetation for the deer, and that's carrion for the crayfish. So he didn't have a combination. I think he did at some point, but that all got used. So right now he doesn't have any main food sources in his hand, so he is going to pass. And then we will now play our very first turn. And there are some other features in this advanced play that's really, really cool. So that's just the first one, is you can have a main food source in your hand and you can resolve it and then draw back up. When you play this advanced version, you also are going to add an evasion die, which I will set right here. You also get to add in 2 cards called Mountain Lion and Black Widow, which have immediate actions that take place. So this one says it hunts, and this one has a venomous bite. Yikes. These are going to get shuffled in. I'm simply going to just kind of tuck them in the deck right there. They are now added to the game. So let's check out some of these new features while still playing turn by turn. Okay, so now it looks like my opponent gets to go first. They are going to look at their hand and play any of their cards out that they think will eat some of mine. Now his highest number is this white-footed mouse, but the mouse also doesn't eat much. Well, neither does the white-tailed deer, but it gets the prey number down here is pretty high for that mouse. So I think he's going to play the white-tailed deer, thinking that very few cards can eat it. Only 6 other animals can eat that particular deer, so it's a pretty good opportunity for me to do this. So that deer is 6. Oh my. I drew it. I'm so excited. Okay, so I drew a mosquito, and the mosquito goes after orange 6 animals. So what I'm going to do is try to bite the deer with my mosquito, and instead of just eating it, which is normally how this works, this is called evasion, and players are going to have the opportunity to evade their predator, to prevent being eaten by them, and essentially the cards going into the feed pile of their opponent. If a player is successful in evading their opponent, they take their card and they put it in their feed pile, and the opponent who is attacking that essentially missed will put that card back into their hand. So that's the penalty of not getting the opponent because they evade you. And the way they do it is by rolling this die. So if you take a look at this symbol up here, you're going to see it says this has a rabbit. This is a rabbit fast symbol. This is called speed. And there are 3 symbols. You're going to see flight, speed, and let me just show you this gray squirrel, 2 turtle shells. This is a unique symbol. Those are the 3 different possible evade symbols. So this deer is going to try to get away with speed. And so what happens is they want to roll this die and get the speed symbol. And if they do, if that's what's on top, they are going to evade and get away. Now, the one trick with these evasion symbols is that you have to look and see, is there a flight or a speed symbol on the attacker, right? This is the predator. And if there is, you look at the opponent, the one who's trying to get away. Is there also a flight or a speed symbol there? Yes. Now, if that happens, all of the symbols are essentially crossed off. They are canceled for the opposing prey, and my mosquito will go nom 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 and will eat up that deer. Now, if for some reason that had been a turtle shell that I was going after, the turtle shell is unique and can always try to evade with a die roll. So maybe next time we'll get an example of that die roll, but my mosquito ate up that deer. All right, we're gonna draw card and card. This is gonna move down to me, and we are both going to check yet again, do we have any main food source? So I've got no food in my hand. This eats ticks. Oh my gosh, ticks! I did it again. So I've got vegetation, harvestman, fly. Okay, so my opossum says down here that it eats ticks, and up here I've got ticks. There we go. So I'm gonna say I've got a main food source. I put them over here and I get to draw. Let's see if my opponent it has a main food source. Let's see if he got lucky. He's got those fruits and seeds still. Carrion is the crayfish. The red-bellied woodpecker wants any pink 12, and the porcupine wants vegetation. So no, he doesn't have any main food source here that he can claim. Maybe next time. It is to me though, so let's take a look at my cards. Which card am I going to play out first? Ooh, I got an eastern screech owl. Eats a lot of good stuff. Boy, I'm tempted. I'm really tempted. I think that's a good one. I could pick out my spotted salamander because he would be able to evade, and maybe I can try to get away if it's somebody. Oof, I'm going to play strong. I want to play eastern screech owl. Hopefully I can just eat up whatever he plays out. So fruits and seeds, 14. No, he doesn't eat that. White-footed mouse, does this eat a number 2? No. Crayfish, number 2? No. 11, no. So none of these are going to beat that, but he doesn't want to just play down a card that just hands it to me. So number 5, he doesn't eat a number 5. He does eat a 7. We'll put him at the end. Crayfish, he does eat him, so I'm going to put him at the end. And then this mouse, he does eat him. So I think Lewis is going to lay down this porcupine and say, this doesn't resolve, right? Mine doesn't eat yours, yours doesn't eat mine. It's back to me to play a card to try to eat his porcupine. Let's see here. So this porcupine eats 14s and 15s. I don't have any of those in here. And I want to eat a 5 orange, and I have nothing that eats a 5 orange. Well, dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. Okay, now is the time for me to play my spotted salamander. Are you ready? I'm going to play my spotted salamander right over the top. So now my other animal is covered up. I have a 10, trying to eat an 11, 12, 13. Not that. This one still doesn't eat mine, so it's up to my opponent. What is he going to do to eat this? He wants to eat a green 10. He can't eat a green 10. So he's going to probably want to do a vole, which is that push, where it really just keeps it going and ups the ante for the amount of cards that go into the feed deck. Now, we do have evade symbols, so that could be really helpful. Let's see here. He also wants to be defensive and play that crayfish. So he's got the oh, no, he doesn't want to play that because then it would be eaten right away. I take it back. He doesn't want to play that because he eats 11, 12, and 13. So let's put it back. Let's do this mouse, right? This mouse is hard to eat. It's a 3 red. Let's see what I have. Can I eat a 3 red? I can't. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm trying to get at 14, 15, 16. Same thing here with 17. I'm going to play down my fly. Nope, because he eats the fly. Okay, can't put that. Because see that? Don't want to put that down. You can go after the same level person. I'm going to put this down. Baby Eastern Cottontail Rabbit. Back to him. Oh my gosh. Is this going to happen? Are we going to get to a push-push? Let's see here. Fruits and seeds he can play down. He's got crayfish. No. Okay, he's going to put his crayfish down now because it's got that turtle shell. That's going to be a good way to evade if I try to attack. So let's see here. Aha. Finally. Aha. I'm going to play my black-capped chickadee. 13. Gets 13. Does this guy eat my guy? He doesn't. This is a 7. He only goes after 11 and above. So now my bird is going to swoop down to try to get this crayfish, and he does have the chance to roll for evasion. So if he gets that turtle shell, he is going to successfully evade and place all of his cards into his feed pile. Otherwise, I get everything. This is it. This is good. So he's rolling for himself. This is that turtle shell. He got it. What a stinker. So he's going to take his cards, 1, 2, 3 cards, into his pile. And not only that, when he draws up, he is now going to draw his 5. And I simply take all 4 of my cards back into my hand and don't get to draw up to 5 since I have them. So that is how you resolve this evasion die. So the cool things again that you add are those interesting main food source that you get to look at the beginning of each round. You do once and you get to bank them. And the other thing is this really cool evasion die. Now there are even cooler features at an even more advanced level in which you have events like hurricanes, lightning storms, leaves, snow, fog. Those are event cards that you can shuffle in once you've played this base game and the next game, the intermediate game, and now the advanced game. And the other thing too is you can play one of 7 creatures. The bald eagle, black vulture, groundhog, raccoon, look at that cutie, coyote, crow, and red fox. And these creatures will give you a certain keyword specialty, and it is essentially you playing as that animal in this particular prey variant of Devour, which is one of those 3 games. And so you can see just the possibilities, the back and forth, the tension, not knowing what your opponent has to play down, not knowing if they can perhaps evade you if you're playing with the more intermediate version, and knowing that when you're the first player and you have this token, you can break those ties, which is really cool if you both eat each other. I think the animals here are so unique. The cards work incredibly well to tell you who they are, what number they are, what evasion symbol they have, if they have a food source, what eats them, and also what they eat. It's a really beautiful, clear, fast-paced game that I think has its heart, its like core, in a game that I remember from when I was a kid. It's called Vore, where you just get a deck of cards, 52 cards, and you just play, and it's high card wins. But this takes that basic concept, that basic, no choice involved mechanic of just playing a card, and it gives you choice. You have 5 cards. You also have more variants that come into the game, the more complex you want to make it. And it really adds a lot of choice, and it adds this nuance that I find to be really interesting and just lovely. It marries the mechanics incredibly well with the theme, because I think the cards and this idea of Devour and becoming the apex predator is just such a strong theme, and everything here fits along with that incredibly well. So thank you for joining me for just a brief run through of a couple rounds of Prey, what the base game is, what the intermediate game offers, and some of the really cool features that come with the advanced variant of Prey. All right, I will see you later. Thanks for watching.